think a lot of people will be. This
I don't
one.
even have
I'm ready.
computer or anything, telephone or anything on mine.
You're live.
Over 119 a month. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It now being slightly after 3 o'clock, we can call the December 16th, 2020 meeting of the Laconia Police Commission to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Minutes are being taken by Executive Assistant Lori Marsh. And a roll call. I'd like to recognize the commissioners present. Commissioner Mello,
Yep.
Commissioner Davis,
Yep.
and Commissioner Whittam here. Also present is Chief Matthew J. Canfield. We have a quorum, and then we will proceed with the agenda. Personnel matters. Chief Canfield.
We have one resignation. I sent you that, I think that's included in your packet. It's Officer Dan Boudreau. He is going to Wyndham Police Department. His wife currently works for Raytheon, so she commutes back and forth to Massachusetts for her job, and his commute is about an hour long, and they're looking to settle down and have kids, and he thought it would be more advantageous to live closer to home. Certainly, I met with him personally, and he had nothing bad to say. Was very happy with the department. In fact, he was quite sad that he had to leave, but certainly her job was not able to be moved, so he made that very tough choice. So we're gonna miss him. He had been with us for a couple of years, but we'll certainly miss him and wish him the best.
Nice. No commendations and awards.
No.
Okay. Promotions and classification changes. Chief Canfield.
Nothing?
Command staff reports. Support Division, Chief Canfield.
I worked with Captain Grayton on preparing the budget submittal that was due last week. That's been submitted for 2021-22 fiscal year. The current budget is certainly on track and within guidelines. They're in the process of getting their new cars equipped and online, which should be out shortly. Training has everything that's been affected by COVID, so certainly they're struggling to maintain the bare bones minimum training, but Lieutenant Hubbard's been very successful in arranging that, so things are separated and people, they're smaller classes. They just finished doing CPR, first aid training along with taser research, so they were done in small blocks, small increments, but we still got it done, so still managing to get that stuff completed. And that is all for support.
Operations Division, Chief Canfield.
Captain Fernogle's been working on the recruitment, which again has been affected by COVID, so it's a little bit difficult to conduct the written tests and necessary interviews, but we do have a number of candidates in line. They're conducting a testing process on January 9th, which has been scheduled for the PT test along with the oral boards. They're working through getting the new scheduling software up and running, as well as a new program called Pro QA that I spoke about at the last commission meeting. It's a big undertaking, and the target date is May to get that operational. Essentially, it's the same software that 911 has, so when someone calls, it standardizes a call taken and gets more information out to the officers in a quicker fashion. So there's a lot of training with that for dispatchers, supervisors, and command staff, but it's an incremented process with the goal of being online in May. Lieutenant Noyes is working on another program that works side by side with Pro QA, which is actually it's a free program. It's called Rapid SOS. So once this is implemented, if someone calls 911, it'll automatically ping their location and start sending those signals out to all the mobile data terminals, like the computers in the cars. So they'll actually have a 30-second or 40-second heads up on the call before it actually happens. So hopefully that will improve response times as well. And that is it for operations.
I have a question.
Sure.
So when somebody calls in, you can pinpoint where they are by GPS or?
They can, we can't do that right now. This program would allow that to happen
Yeah,
with cell
okay.
phones. So if we had, say, like a major incident, we'd be able to say, it would actually pull up a Google map and drop different pins on it. It would show multiple callers at one location.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, we could allocate resources or, the nearest cars to start heading that way if it was a bigger incident.
Yeah, yeah. So if somebody was on a street, and they didn't know the name of the street or anything like that, it'll tell you
Correct.
where it is. Yeah, that's great.
The GPS has come a long ways on the cell phones. It's still not completely foolproof.
Yeah,
But it's certainly a great improvement to what it was a couple of years ago. And it's not like we're gonna track phones, but we'd be able to track a caller if they were in need of something. So in that aspect, it'll be a pretty good thing.
Under hirings, do you have a backup list of potential candidates? In other words, people that have applied in the past, you kind of put on hold.
We do, and then we either bring those applications forward and allow them to go through their war boards at that time, or encourage them to compete in the new testing process. So we do.
So that's the procedure you use for the officer that just resigned,
Yes.
yeah?
So we currently have one position open, and then the officer that resigned, so we'll have actually 2 vacancies to fill.
Moving on to commission action. You've all had a chance to read the minutes of the previous meeting.
I move those minutes be approved as written.
Is there a second?
second?
On a motion made, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. On a motion made by Commissioner Mello and seconded by Commissioner Davis, passes unanimously. The meeting minutes of November 18th were accepted as distributed. Review of monthly activities. The Department Monthly Highlights, Chief Canfield.
So for the month of November, we responded to 2,237 calls for service. In comparison, last year, same month, we responded 1,869 calls for service. So currently, our calls for service are up 24%. We're currently at 24,015 calls for service for the year, whereas last year, for the entire year, we were at 19,324. For the month of November, we investigated 272 criminal offenses. 196 criminal offenses were cleared by arrest, and we made 110 physical custody arrests. Motor vehicle stops, we made 449 motor vehicle stops in total, which is up 45%. In comparison to total last year to date was 4,199, and we're at 6,092. That is in part, a large part, because of the traffic unit that we created as a result of a new position. We arrested 2 DWI arrests, took 29 people into custody for intoxication, responded to 22 different domestic disturbance calls, 101 other disturbances, 6 suicidal subjects, and investigated 7 violation of restraining orders. And LPD volunteers volunteered 5 hours of volunteer time for the month.
I noticed that traffic stops out on North Main Street must be working, because the traffic seems to be, when they get out of work at night or in the morning, it slows, they're going pretty much the speed limit.
Yeah, that's good. They've certainly hit that pretty hard lately.
Yeah, I was up by the jail one day, and there was a cruiser park coming out of Old North Main, and then down Edgewater, second cruiser park,
Oh,
so
wow, nice.
keep an eye on them. It was good. The calls for service, what do you attribute the 20, almost 25% increase?
You know, it's really hard to tell, I think, at this point. I don't know. I mean, certainly this year has been a strange year with COVID, and certainly kids are out of school a lot more, so I don't know if a little bit of it is related to juvenile calls or what the uptick is, but it's something we'll certainly watch.
Criminal Investigative Unit statistics, Chief Canfield.
For the month of November, detectives took on 10 initial cases, conducted 37 follow-ups on other cases, made 2 felony arrests, initiated 3 felony charges, 3 misdemeanor arrests, 1 misdemeanor charge, issued 40 different search warrants or arrest warrants or juvenile petitions, conducted 16 sex offender registrations, investigated 2 computer-related crimes, 1 knock and talk, 14 drug intel sheets, conducted a total of 123 training hours, and conducted 52 different body-worn camera video redactions.
Question. I noticed that they had another robbery at Spa. Was that daytime or nighttime, both of them?
It was nighttime. They both were, well, the one was about 3 in the afternoon was the actual robbery. The second one was classified as a theft. It happened about 9:30 at night. A woman went into the store, distracted the clerk, asked the clerk to open up one of the display cases, so he came out from around the counter to open up the display case. She went behind the counter, and there was a bag of money behind the counter. She grabbed it and ran out of the store. He discovered it about 10 minutes later because he was curious as to why she went back there. Saw it on the video that she'd taken the bag of money and took off. So we're investigating that as well.
Moving on, budget printouts, Chief Canfield.
Everything's on track unless you have any specific questions.
As always, the budget looks good.
It does. Great shape.
Monthly traffic statistics, Chief Canfield.
We issued a total of 44 parking tickets for the month of November. 3 of them were for no parking zones. 7 were left wheel to curb. 1 was for handicap. 11 for parking on the sidewalk. 2 for blocking an alley, and 20 were parked midnight to sunrise in violation of the winter parking ban. We responded to a total of 35 motor vehicle accidents. 11 of those were with injury. The number 1 cause for accidents was driver inattention, followed by unsafe backing, and then followed by other. Number 1 location for accidents for the month of November was Union Avenue, which was no surprise, followed by South Main Street. And then I went over the traffic enforcement, the traffic statistics already, so. And that is it for monthly traffic.
Questions, monthly fleet report, Chief Canfield.
Nothing unless there's specific questions.
Correspondence to and from the department.
There was a nice thank you letter from New Hampton Police Department. They had reached out with questions on our records management system. Robin Moyer volunteered to go over there and help them learn the program, and they sent a nice thank you letter for that. So certainly, you know, all of our employees are willing to help other agencies, and that's certainly to be commended. There was a nice thank you letter for the Christmas parade, someone who really enjoyed it, who appreciated the assistance in making it happen, as well as from the St. Vincent de Paul Society, who sent a thank you for our assistance in handing out the food baskets. St. Vincent de Paul is located on Union Avenue right by McDonald's, and there was a ton of traffic, and we wound up actually coning off part of Union Avenue to allow a turning lane there, so we assisted them with that, and they appreciated that.
I talked to him and he was very, very, very pleased,
Yeah,
very pleased.
it was nice.
He's my neighbor, lives, anyways.
Oh, no kidding.
Chief report, Chief Canfield.
So for the month of November, we had a total of 73, or year-to-date, 73 drug overdoses. And that's compared to a total of 63 last year. The good news is that we've had 4 overdose deaths year-to-date versus 9 last year, so the overdose deaths are down by half. Overdoses are up slightly, but that's better than the drug overdoses the deaths that we saw. In your packet, you'll see a reappointment letter for myself to the IACP, the International Chiefs of Police Association, for a reappointment to the Terrorism Committee. The Terrorism Committee is a committee of the IACP that works on terrorism issues, not only in our country but worldwide, to kind of gain a big picture. So certainly that was my honor to be reappointed for that. If you notice in your packet, there was a survey that came in on our website that was online. I reached out and spoke with him. He was not overly pleased with the level of police service that he received. It appears there was a misunderstanding, that things crossed over and the officer was actually attempting to contact him. I reached out to the person that submitted this survey and had a good conversation with him, and he had no issues at the end of our conversation, so. Eric Adams has been working on the homeless task force, the mayor's homeless task force. And they've come up with some really good ideas, and I think they'll be rolling those out as soon as details are finalized. But certainly this is a tough time of year for the homeless population, where it gets really cold and there's no shelter and there's no place for them to go. So they're working on some options, and certainly he's been leading the charge for us on that task force for the police department, and he's been doing a really good job. So I look forward to revealing some of the good stuff that he's doing and that the task force is doing that will be coming out soon. So as you know, COVID is a big thing, so we certainly have a lot of changes in place that we've tweaked along the way, and certainly we keep doing that as our people are affected by it, whether by a quarantine or whether by actually contracting COVID. So we constantly monitor that, and I'm constantly on conference calls with the state. I'm pleased that Perry Plummer, who was the Assistant Commissioner of Safety, has come back as a consultant for public health. So he'll be leading the vaccination charge for the state. I was on a call with them today, and they're looking to get vaccinations rolled out to, I think the hospitals are starting. I know this hospital is starting this Friday to do the COVID vaccinations. And then they're looking for first responders sometime the end of the month to get that done. There's still some questions because you can still get the vaccine, is my understanding, but still be a carrier of it. So there's questions on if you are exposed to someone that has COVID, do you still have to quarantine? And as of right now, the thought is that you'd still have to quarantine because you could still potentially be a carrier, but if you have the vaccine, you're not gonna get sick. So that's good news. Also been working with the National Guard and state resources, that when the vaccine does come about for public distribution, that we'll be using the community college up on Route 106, and that will be a point of distribution for probably about 6 or 7 months, is how long they intend it to run, probably into July, maybe into August. So certainly, you know, that's a nice thing that the college is doing, is open up their building, their parking lot, to allow that to happen, because that is gonna be for the entire area as a point of distribution. So that's certainly some good stuff.
When are they gonna open that up, or, did you say?
When?
Yeah,
I don't know. It all depends on the supply of the vaccine.
yeah, so,
But they're putting plans in place that as soon as they get enough quantity of vaccine in, that they can open it up and start the distribution.
yeah,
The vaccine is actually a 2-dose vaccine,
right,
So you get the first shot, and then 26 to 28 days later, you get the second shot. So there's a little bit of monitoring that'll have to come about with that, but they're looking to, I think they signed the MOU on it already, so they're looking to have that operational as soon as they have the vaccine available, so.
Yeah, I heard on the news today that there's 2 other vaccines coming on the market as well, so,
Yeah,
So
that'll
hopefully-
certainly help.
you know, we'll start to
Yeah.
pump it out, I'm sure, as quick as we can, so.
Yeah, my understanding is it has to be refrigerated at a super cold temperature, so transportation and storage is the other issue. But I think that'll be happening probably March, April timeframe
Yeah.
to begin the vaccinations anyway. So, good stuff.
Your personnel that were on quarantine, are they all back at work now, or is
They are all back at work.
all back at work?
Yes. Yep.
Old business, chief,
Nothing?
new business,
Nothing?
other business,
Nothing?
citizen comments.
I do have to make just a comment that Councilor Cheney reached out to me before the meeting. He was unable to make it, but certainly wanted to be available if you all had any questions for him, or if there's anything he can do. He offered his assistance, and he also wished the commission a very happy holiday season, so.
Confirmation of the next meeting date, January 20th, 2021. Is there a need for non-public?
There is not, there is a need for a non-meeting, just to talk about contract negotiations.
Okay. We'll move to adjourn. Is there
Make a motion, we adjourn.
a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A motion by Commissioner Mello, seconded by Commissioner Davis, passes unanimously. Meeting's adjourned at 3:25.
Everybody have a happy, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and be
Thanks.
safe.
Same to you. Same to you.